Hello, friends, and welcome to Pour and Explore Wine, Food, and Travel Stories from around the world. I'm Nick Elliott, the Wine Guy. This is where we sip, savor, and wander through the world of wine, explore incredible food, and uncover the stories behind unforgettable destinations. Each week, you'll hear engaging conversations with wine pros, chefs, travelers, and fellow enthusiasts, plus educational episodes to help you sip smarter and explore deeper. So, grab a glass, pull up a chair, and let's pour, explore, and celebrate the good life. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pour and Explore, your place for wine, food, and travel stories from around the world. And I am so glad you were with me for this awesome episode. It was a couple episodes ago. I promised you that I was going to do stories about comfort food. And I was quick to sit down and write this episode. So I'm so happy to bring it with you today because I love comfort food. I love talking about comfort food. And most of all, I love eating comfort food. Today, it's not about chasing Michelin stars or exotic luxury. We are chasing just that comfort. Those dishes that wrap around you like a warm blanket that instantly transport you to a kitchen table or a late night craving or a memory of home. Something that just makes you feel good. But here's the fun twist. Comfort food isn't universal. Every culture defines it differently. They define it differently. It's shaped by history. Comfort food is shaped by geography, family traditions, cultural traditions. So today we're going to take a tour of 4 different regions. We're going to talk a little bit about the US. We're going to talk about Europe. We're going to talk about Asia, and we're going to talk about Latin America. And we're going to uncover some stories behind their most beloved comfort foods. So please pull up a chair, not if you're driving, and check this out. Here in the US, in America, comfort food means hearty, filling, and quite often nostalgic foods. So we're going to talk about mac and cheese. We're going to talk about fried chicken. We're going to talk about one of my specialties, chili, or how about a little meatloaf, perhaps? Mac and cheese, for example, it just feels, I said a few episodes ago, I don't know where it came from, but I'm so glad that it's here. Mac and cheese, it just feels all American, like apple pie or whatever other comparison you want to make. But I do know some of its history, not all of it. That mac and cheese, its roots trace back to Thomas Jefferson, who encountered pasta in Italy and brought the recipes back. The chefs that worked with Thomas Jefferson revised it, and it became a Southern staple. Now, I don't know how true that is, but again, I'm glad that it is the way it is because it is, I mean, everything from just a simple box that you can pick up in the grocery store to gourmet versions of mac and cheese that you'll find in five-star restaurants and everything in between. Mac and cheese with protein on top, lobster and burnt ends, pulled chicken, whatever you want to call it. Mac and cheese with exotic spices. Well, I mean, not that paprika is that exotic, but it's an exotic spice. Lots of garlic and chilies, things like that, all mixed into your mac and cheese to give it a little bit of extra flair, a little bit of extra flavor. And then don't even get me started on the type of pastas that mac and cheese is made with nowadays. Back in the day, it used to be all elbow macaroni. Not much anymore. You're going to find pasta made with mac and cheese made with shell. Find mac and cheese made with orchietti, mac and cheese made with rigatoni, and everything in between. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be absolutely delicious. I talk a lot about the U.S. having the language of leftovers. The U.S. is one of the only leftover cultures in the world where we cook enough to have some for lunch tomorrow or for dinner the next day or 2 days from now. So mac and cheese is one of those dishes that you can put together a big pan of it and come back for several days after the fact and even transform it into something new on day 2 or 3. Have fun with it, make it delicious, make it awesome, and make it memorable. That is what it's all about. Here in the US, fried chicken is one of the greatest inventions of mankind. It was originally brought to the States by Scottish immigrants. I learned this recently, which is a lot of fun, and then transformed by cooks in the South and beyond, figured out a way to season it perfectly and bread it just the right way. And whether you like your fried chicken pan fried or deep fried or extra crispy or not extra crispy, it doesn't matter. It's all delicious. It's all amazing. And whether you put 11 herbs and spices into it or only 5, it doesn't matter as long as you like it. And I can't think of a more apt comfort food for us here in the US than fried chicken. Fried chicken chains, of course, the classic ones, which I'm not going to mention. You now have Nashville hot fried chicken chains popping up all over the place. But every restaurant has a chicken tender or fried chicken of some kind on the dish, so on the menu rather. So that in and of itself proves how universal fried chicken is. And not only as a food, but a comfort food here in the US. And it really, really is amazing 99.9% of the time. I hope you enjoy it. And then as a multi-time chili cook-off winner myself, I could not talk about comfort food without talking a little bit about chili. Chili was born in the Southwest here in the US, blending Mexican flavors and cowboy practicality. It's a warm bowl of meat and beans, meat or beans, or meat and beans, maybe both. Depending on what family you grew up in, you might have strong opinions about beans and or meat in your chili, or maybe you like vegetarian chili. That is totally cool as well. But as long as it's delicious and warm and fabulous, a great bowl of chili is worth it every single time. I make chili probably once every couple of months here in my household, and every single time, not just because I made it, but because my family loves it. And it's just a great way to sit back. You put some cheese and some sour cream and some chopped onions on top, especially in the winter months. Even though we don't necessarily have winter here in San Diego, it does get chillier, a chilly 68 degrees today. In January, a nice warm bowl of chili likes to keep us warm. Don't be jealous, people. Don't be jealous. But I literally have, and I'm very proud of it. I've won multiple awards over the years making chili and chili competitions, and I love doing it so much. I love the competition. I love the camaraderie in making chili, and it's another thing that brings us together as human beings. Let's have fun with it. Let's have a good time. Let's make it delicious. That's all I can say. Let's move over to Europe because comfort food in Europe means something a little bit different. European comfort foods often come from humble peasant traditions, dishes that used every single scrap and warmed cold nights in Europe all over that continent. And the first thing I think of when it comes to humble peasant traditions in Europe, I think about pizza. Yes, of course. Of course, I'm going to talk about pizza and comfort food. Pizza it wasn't necessarily born in Naples. Some food scholars say that pizza was actually originated in China or the Far East somewhere. But what I can say without hesitation is that our pizza that we know nowadays was born in Naples, in Italy, Napoli. It was born as a food for the poor. Flat bread topped with tomatoes and cheese. And of course, now pizza is topped with everything under the sun. Astonishingly, still people are putting pineapple on their pizza. I'm just kidding, pineapple. Pineapple people, pineapple pizza people. You can put whatever you want on your pizza. I'm not bothered with you. I don't eat it, but if you like it, you go and you have fun with it. I'm a simple pepperoni guy. I grew up in Philadelphia, so pepperoni and cheese pizza. That's what we ate. That's what still gets my memories going of growing up eating pizza. Simple, plain, delicious pizza. Maybe you like it. Here in California, I was surprised to see, again, every topping under the sun winding up on a pizza. Barbecue chicken and Mexican pizza, etc., etc. All good, but my comfort pizza is plain pepperoni with a great mozzarella cheese, a good sauce, and a thin crust. That's what comforts me. Tell me what comforts you. Go down in the notes right now or in the comments right now and tell me what is your favorite pizza. In places like UK and Ireland, it was all about what you had available to yourself. And when you did have access to meat, it was hard to come by. And you probably got a lot if you were just Joe Schmo living in a local village or something like that. You probably had access to very little meat, and the meat that you did have access to was probably on the tougher side. So what we wound up doing was just braising those meats down as much as we possibly could to make them edible, something that we could easily chew through and things like that. And this is where we came up with dishes like shepherd's pie. Shepherd's pie, simply braised beef or lamb, braise it down really good with some vegetables, maybe some carrots, maybe some peas, certainly some onions. You braise it down a whole lot. You top that off with mashed potatoes. You bake it in the oven with maybe a little bit of butter on top. Hearty, no waste comfort, and you have your entire meal there in one pan, which is very trendy nowadays. It's kind of the must all of those years ago. I grew up eating shepherd's pie and local restaurants, but we made shepherd's pie a lot at home because, again, it was inexpensive to make. It was easy. It was something that you could stick in the oven on low heat earlier in the day, turn it up when you got home to finish it off. And feeding a big family like mine was not an easy thing to do, but I've got so many, again, you hear me say it a dozen times, I've got so many great memories around dishes like shepherd's pie that it's comforting to think about growing up eating those things around a table with my family, with friends, etc., etc., eating delicious food. What is more comforting than that? Going over to France, there's a dish again that I make quite a bit here, coq au vin. Coq au vin literally means rooster with wine. And who doesn't love chicken with some good wine? We're going to take the toughest chicken, the legs and the thighs, truffle birds, and we're going to slowly cook them in wine and herbs and vegetables. Again, an all-day thing. This is comfort food from places like Burgundy and Bordeaux in France, where wine is a staple of cooking anyway. So let's go ahead and make a nice broth with some wine. Let's cook that chicken down all day. throw in some potatoes and some carrots and some onions and some local herbs. And if you have not tried coq au vin, highly, highly recommend it. You can get it at a lot of French restaurants, usually higher end French restaurants, not necessarily your bistro style French restaurants, but usually white tablecloth restaurants will have it on the menu a lot of the times, more often than not. And if you're not following along with the pronunciation, I'll go and spell it out for you. 3 words: COQ, new word AU, new word VIN. So, rooster with wine. Coq au vin, one of my absolute favorite things to make, and with a beautiful, beautiful French heritage of every single part of the animal and vegetables and herbs foraged from around where you live. Absolutely wonderful. So, as you can see, in Europe, comfort food is less about indulgence and more about tradition and carrying forward centuries of recipes, kind of born out of necessity, but filled with lots of love and tradition. I hope you enjoyed that. Moving over to Asia. In Asia, everything is in balance, and a lot of times it's in a bowl. Asian comfort food typically centers around broths, around rice, of course, and around noodles. The kinds of dishes that warm the body and certainly soothe the spirit. Ramen in Japan came into existence as a cheap food for students, something that was hearty, easy to make, warm, and most importantly, inexpensive. But now ramen is an art form. It's all about heart. It's all about steaming broth and the perfectly cooked egg and the toppings that seem to say you're safe, you're full, you're cared for. Thank you for eating me. That sounded weird, but anyway, we're going to move on from that. Ramen, an absolute amazing food. It's one that I didn't necessarily have a taste for up until a few years ago, but I am finding it every place that I go. It just seems to get better and better and better. And if you've not had the opportunity, I'm not talking about cup of noodles, folks. I'm talking about actual ramen to a restaurant and eat. I mean, cup of noodles is great too. I eat that from time to time as well. But Tengatsu ramen at a great Japanese restaurant, highly, highly recommended. Congee is a dish from China that is a rice porridge, sometimes, a lot of times eaten at breakfast, as a matter of fact. Or when you're feeling under the weather, congee is like chicken noodle soup is here in the States, something that you might eat when you're feeling under the weather. It's mild, it's nourishing, and of course, it is completely customizable. If you start with a dish of just rice porridge, what are we going to put on top of that? Are we going to put some vegetables on top of that, a little soy sauce, and maybe some chili paste? Are we going to put some type of protein on top of it as well? A lot of these dishes that I'm talking about are very, very much customizable. And this is definitely one that is completely customizable, and a billion people in China cannot be wrong. This was a great way to start your day, and it is a beautiful, comforting dish that everyone should try. If you run into some congee at a Chinese restaurant, give it a try. You never know. You might like it. Moving over to India, there's a dish called dal in India, which is essentially just a lentil stew seasoned with spices. Simple because it's made with lentils. It's also protein rich, and it's made in households across the subcontinent for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's easy, it's delicious, and just like congee that I talked about a minute ago, it's a dish that's completely customizable. You're going to start with the lentil stew with the traditional Indian spices, curry, etc., etc. all different masala flavors, and you might throw some vegetables on top. You might throw some yogurt on top of that. You might throw some additional protein on top of that. Some beautiful braised lamb or chicken. It's absolutely wonderful. And again, a billion Indian residents cannot be wrong on how amazing dal is and how comforting it is when you sit down and eat it. And as I mentioned earlier, Asian comfort food often reflect the balance, flavor, and nourishment. And again, that connection to family rituals or traditions is so, so very important. And that's what it boils down to. In Latin America, the comfort food in Latin America are a lot of the times hearty and most of the time celebratory. We are using food as a way to celebrate a special event or a time of year or a holiday. And that's what the folks in Latin America are doing. Comfort food is bold and hearty, and again tied to family gatherings a little bit of survival as well. Tamales in Mexico, corn dough or masa wrapped in corn husks, steamed, oftentimes filled with meat and cheese and sometimes vegetables. And this ancient Aztec food that still lives in Mexico to these days has been filling bellies at the holidays for years and years. And I mean, hundreds of thousands of years. And I love a good tamale. There's so many ways to do it, so many different flavors to choose from mild to spicy, vegetables and beef and beans and everything in between. Tamales are one of Mexico's greatest holiday traditions, and I absolutely love them. And I hope you do as well. If you've never tried a tamale, you need to get out there and try one this week. Promise me you'll do that. Promise me you'll do that. All right, fantastic. Moving down to Brazil in South America, there is a black bean stew with pork that was originally made from scraps that were given to the enslaved peoples. And now it is one of their national dishes. Feijoada. I think I'm pronouncing that right. That's the way that I've heard it pronounced. So hopefully that is correct. If you want to correct me, please do so in the comments. But this stew goes back to again a dish that was made out of necessity. And I think about going to the Jewish ghetto in Rome and places in Eastern Europe as well, and places in Asia where you have to get by with what you are left with. I'm not going to talk about equity or fairness or anything like that, but the gumption and the human spirit is taking what we are given and doing what we can with that, doing what we can with that. So beans, pork, vegetables, something made with scraps, and it's turned into a dish that everyone in the country of Brazil is proud of. Something that they can call their own. Something that is comforting to them because they grew up having it made for them and their ancestors made it where it was made for their ancestors and before that. And again, everything that we're talking about today has to do with the tradition and getting back to your roots, which brings you comfort. We're talking about comfort food today, folks. And I can't think of a more comforting thing than to make a dish or to eat a dish that you and your ancestors have been eating for dozens, hundreds, thousands of years and really connecting with who you are and where you're from. Anyway, arepas from Venezuela and Colombia, corn cakes stuffed with cheese and meat, eggs. There in the northern areas of South America, Venezuela, Colombia, arepas are again a national dish and something that travels really well in those countries, something that you can stop and pick up on the way to work and have it for lunch, something that you can easily make for dinner, tradition aside, and just using what you have in the house, using leftovers, things like that. Wrap your leftover beef stew in corn and bake it off or deep fry it, something like that. Add some cheese, add some eggs, make it delicious, make it wonderful. That's what they've done in those countries with arepas. They're simple, easy, and very shareable dishes, and you're going to find them everywhere on the streets of those countries, every home kitchen, and every plate in the country is going to have an arepa on it at some point in time. I was just where was I? I was in Basel, Switzerland, is where I was. And we went to a little market that was around the corner from the hotel. And sure enough, they had an arepa stand there where they were selling them. I could see them back there making them by hand. And of course, I had to have one. Absolutely delicious. You do not have to be in Venezuela or Colombia to get your hands on a great arepa. I bet you can find one right around the corner from where you live. And I definitely want you to get out there and try those out. Comfort food is a deeply communal thing, something that should be shared, celebrated, and tied to not only your identity, but the identity of the people around you as well. And that really is what brings us comfort at the end of the day. So, what's the common thread here? Comfort food is never just about the ingredients. It's about the memory. It's about family. It's about resilience and about culture. So whether it's mac and cheese here in the US, ramen in Japan, shepherd's pie in Ireland, or tamales in Mexico, comfort food is history that you can taste, and it's all about you. So I want you to pop down to the show notes because I've put together a little freebie for you, a little bonus, if you will, comfort foods from around the world and talking about pairing those things with wine. It lists the dishes that we talked about today, plus my recommended wines that are going to make each one of those dishes shine. Perfect for cozy nights when you want a little global flair. Let's surprise your girlfriend. Let's impress your boyfriend, or something to sit around the table with your family with a beautiful bottle of wine and enjoy. You can grab that at the link in the show notes. I definitely want you to check that out. And while you are here, please don't forget to subscribe. Hit that follow button. Hit that heart, that check, that thumbs up, wherever you are, wherever you're hearing this, give it a like. It means a lot to me. And it does a lot for my platform if you want to hear more. Thank you very much. So with that being said, everybody, keep wondering and wandering, and I will see you on the next episode of Pour and Explore. Take care. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Pour and Explore. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Love to hear your stories or questions. Drop me a message at cheers@thewineguy.vin. That's cheers@thewineguy.vin. Or let's connect on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook. Grab those links at thewineguy.vin. Until next time, let's keep wondering and wandering. Cheers, everybody.